Hey Transformers fans, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. I've got a bit of a different video for you today. And actually this is kind of inspired by a message or a tweet that I saw on Twitter from one of the Transformers enthusiasts that I follow. And they were saying, are there any good, resources out there, like just basic resources for people who want to get into customizing Transformers, and what how you can get started in an easy way that's not, overly complicated. And I know that there are a few resources out there for beginners, mostly forums and things like that, but it kind of got me thinking that I wanted to put together just sort of a simple, quick video. And actually this is probably going to be a series. I'll probably do a bunch of them, kind of breaking it down into bite-sized chunks of different things. And, it'll just kind of be like an intro to customizing Transformers, and what can you do, what are some of the things that you're going to need, and so forth. So really this is from my perspective, I've done a bunch of customs of varying degrees. I'm by no means the best out there, but I've done enough of them now that I think I've got some helpful tips and tricks that I can share, that I've learned that have made things easier over my time of customizing Transformers. So I want to start this video off by just kind of like giving you an idea of, from my eyes at least, like what does constitute a custom Transformer. I mean, some people you'll see, complete overhauls where they've carved up pieces and made a whole new bot and repainted the thing from, head to toe and weather and all that stuff. And it's really, it's a gorgeous result. But it's really, it takes a lot of skill and a lot of talent to get there. Is that really what a custom is all about? No, not necessarily. In my eyes, a custom is really just anything that you would do to one of your figures to make it look the way that you want. And it could be something as simple as what I've done with my little Legends class wind charger here, which, I've had this guy for a long time. And one of the things that always kind of bugged me about him was that he had the rub symbol on his front instead of just the standard Autobot logo. So, purchased a set of Autobot logos from Toy Hacks repro labels and peeled off the rub symbol and stuck a Autobot logo on his chest. To me, that's a custom Transformer. And it's a very simple custom and very basic custom, but still, I've changed it to make it look the way I want it to. And I also added some silver paint to his rims because the rims on this guy were just plain black, and I felt like it would add a little bit of style to give him silver rims. So I painted his rims silver. Those are the only two things that I've done to this figure, but I still call that a custom. Now, compare that to another robot that I did. My Voyager class Studio Series Revenge of the Fallen Megatron. And this guy was a head-to-toe, complete, 100% repaint. There's not 1 inch of this guy that has not had paint applied to it. So this was very, very involved. It took me a long time. And, was kind of one of the most recent customs that I've done, and, was the benefit of all of the customizations that I've done in the past. So this guy obviously is a custom. But, I mean, there's so many varying degrees that a custom can basically be whatever you want. As long as you're changing the Transformer to look the way that you want it to, in whatever way, I say that's a custom. So with that in mind, I wanted to just kind of give this particular overview is just going to be what are the basic supplies that I use for customizing Transformers. So for starters, one of the best things that any Transformers customizer could get is a couple of silver Sharpie pens. Now, these are permanent paint markers with bright silver metallic finish on it. And these handy little things are not only great for getting autographs when you're at a show, on dark pages and stuff like that, but they're also fantastic at giving Transformers wheels a silver finish, because they do have a pretty fine tip on them. They are a permanent marker, which means it's not going to like rub off or get overly worn over time. They do last quite a while, so it's these are handy little things, and they make touching up wheels very, very easy. Now, for example, my Studio Series Jazz here, which had, plain rims on it, just the same color as the tire, now has silver shiny rims thanks to the Sharpie. And that took me maybe 15-20 minutes to do the wheels. And I think it makes the figure look a lot better. So you're definitely going to want to get a couple of silver Sharpies. Another thing that you're going to want to get is make sure that you have a set of these small sort of hobby crafty miniature screwdrivers. A variety, they usually come in a variety pack of like 6 or 7 of them, but they've got different sizes of tips, and these are very helpful for any of those instances where you actually need to disassemble a piece or take it apart, because a lot of times the screws are very small, so you're going to need a set of those. And I also have sort of a bigger screwdriver for the bigger screws in the event that you run across one. Making sure that you're using the right size screwdriver for the screw will help you make sure that you don't strip it and make it easier. In addition to your Sharpie paint pens, you're going to want to get a small variety of bristle paint brushes. Now, as you can see, I've got one here that's an extremely small, fine brush tip. And then I've got another one that's a little bit bigger, but I find that the best paintbrushes for working with these things are the ones that are soft, very, very soft. You can get stiff bristle brushes. That's not what you're going to want for these. You're going to want a very soft brush. And having a variety of sizes means that when you're painting large areas or large surfaces of the robot, you'll want to use the larger brush because you'll get a cleaner finish. But obviously when you're getting into nooks and crannies and you want to do precision work, you're going to want the finer tip brush. Now, when it comes to paints themselves, I'm a big fan of the Tamiya acrylics. And the reason, one of the reasons that I'm a big fan of Tamiya acrylics is they come in these convenient little pots. You don't need to buy a whole ton of them. You can pretty much get any color that you possibly imagine. And most of them out of the box or out of the pot match pretty closely to a lot of the colors that Transformers use. So you're going to want to get sort of the basic colors like a black, a metallic silver, a white, a red, and that kind of thing. But because they're acrylic paints, they clean up with water, which makes it very, very easy to clean up. If you do make a mistake, you can wash it off. And I just find that they're very easy to work with. They give you a nice finish. You can get flat finishes, which are like the non-shiny finishes. You're going to want to get a couple of different options, like a flat black, and then you're going to want to get a gloss black so that you have the option between the two. And they also are very easy to mix. You can obviously change the color by adding a couple of drops of black to red to darken it up or deepen it up, or white, or however you want to do it. But these paints are very easy to work with. They're very easy to mix. And I think they're only like $5 or $6 for a pot, so they're not terribly expensive either. And you can find those at any hobby shop that sells like plastic models and things like that. I'm pretty sure like Michael's craft stores will have these as well. One of the other things that you're going to want to look for when you're picking up your paints is a little bottle of thinner. And the reason that you're going to want the thinner is sometimes when you're working with the paints and you're doing large areas, especially when you're doing large areas of like silver, you'll want to thin out the paint a little bit so that it doesn't get too thick. And when the paint gets too thick on the robot, it tends to become gloopy and sloppy, and you'll see the brush marks in it, obviously. So if you use a little bit of thinner, and I'll talk about thinning out and mixing paints in a future video, but adding a few drops of thinner usually is enough to make it a little easier to work with. Sometimes I go even components like 1 part thinner to 1 part paint to get a really smooth finish. Obviously when you do that you need more coats, but you'll end up with a better finish. So make sure that you get some thinner that you can work with as well. You don't need it to clean the brushes or anything like that, because like I said, these are acrylics. They'll just wash off with water, and you'll want to clean your brush regularly so that you don't get, sort of those dried pieces of paint, starting to stick to the surfaces that you're painting. So clean your brushes regularly as well. When it comes to the final finish, I prefer a spray coat. Now, I don't do this on all of my customs. I only do this on usually ones that have been repainted from head to toe. Like, for example, bringing Megatron again. This guy was clear coated using Testor's spray lacquer, and you can kind of see this is the dull coat, which means it gives it that matte finish. You can also get a shiny glossy clear coat if you want, to give it that really sort of pristine look. But this guy, I wanted that flat finish, so that's what I used on that. So that stuff works really, really well. Obviously, you're not going to do it on every figure, but for those ones that you do a sort of a complete repaint and you want to have some extra protection, it works really, really well. And a can of this stuff, I think is maybe $8 or $9. It's a little bit more expensive than a pot, but still, I mean, it's, you know, enough to do quite a lot of work. So I recommend you pick up a can of that as well if you want to have that extra clear coat protection. Now, you may be wondering off to the side here why I have these little things here. This is a little syringe from like, you know, kids' medicine bottle, like, you know, liquid Motrin or baby Motrin or whatever. And I find that these things, after you've done, you know, you're done using them, they're very, very handy for measuring out paints. And, you know, these little containers as well that come with those same types of medicines are great little mixing pots, because obviously you don't need a lot of space if you're only doing a few drops of paint to make sure that you get the color match. So if you have these lying around your house, I'd say hang on to them, because they can be really, really handy when you start getting into stuff like this. Just make sure, obviously, that you don't use them for medicine again after you've been using them for paint. So you might want to like mark them with a marker or something like that, just to say that, you know, these are your customization ones, just to obviously stay on the safe side. But very handy little things to keep on hand when you're doing some customizations. The last thing that I'm going to point out in terms of supplies are a couple of things here. So little toothpicks. Now I find that these are very, very handy for if you happen to make a mistake. Like, for example, I'm going to pull in wind charger again. If you do happen to make a mistake while you're you know, painting the rims or whatever, if you just wait for the paint to dry, these are the round toothpicks, the stiff round toothpicks. They're really good at cleaning up any mistakes that you may have, you know, gotten some extra paint on the tire. You can sort of use this to scrape the paint off. And because it's an acrylic paint, it's not, you know, super, super tough. And it does come off fairly easily, but then that'll allow you to clean up the tires fairly simply with a toothpick. And any other other areas that, you know, you maybe have accidentally gotten some paint on. The sort of soft edge, the round edge of the wooden toothpick, you can use to sort of scrape the paint off without actually damaging the plastic of the figure. And I find that works really well. So keep a couple of those on hand for that reason. Now, the last thing that I would suggest that you have for your workspace is what I like to call it's like a work tray. And this box here is basically a container or a box that we use to hold juice boxes. We bought, you know, big case of juice boxes at Costco, and they come in these boxes, which are extremely handy for keeping your parts organized while you're doing a custom. So I'll put my paints in there, I'll put my bought parts in there, and just kind of have it so that I can take it on and off the table when I need to use it for something else. And it just kind of helps keep everything organized and in one place so that little bits don't get lost and that kind of thing. So having a small container that you can use to put your pieces in is pretty handy. Now, the last thing that I would recommend for anybody who's getting started in customizing Transformers is you're going to want to have a clear, well-lit work area. You know, a nice desk that's not cluttered with stuff, and then lots of lighting. Obviously, lighting is key when you're customizing these because you want to make sure that you're hitting the right spots, that the colors match, and that kind of thing. So having a clear, well-lit work area is very helpful. So that's really kind of my quick overview of how to get started in terms of the supplies and the stuff that you'll need to customize Transformers. And like I said at the beginning, you know, it can be anything that you want, you know, whether it's just painting the wheels, adding a logo, you know, or maybe you're painting the eyes of a figure or whatever, because it's not bright enough or whatever the case is. I mean, as long as you're changing the figure to look the way that you want it to, however it may be, you're a Transformers customizer. And, you know, getting started is a lot easier than you think. And in future videos, I'm going to go over specifics on how to do certain things. So make sure you check back regularly, and I'll do my best to get more videos up. But certainly I hope this kind of gives you an idea of the stuff that you might want to have on hand to get started. And if you have any questions about any of the things that I've talked about, you know, drop me a line in the comments and I'll answer any questions. And also, I would love it if you'd give me a like, a click, subscribe, share the video, and just let me know what you think. I appreciate it. Thanks very much to everybody for tuning in. I'm looking forward to putting together more of these videos. Hope you found it helpful, and I will talk to you again soon. So have a great day.